Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Only Stupid Answers. And today we have a special guest, Mr. Jason Inman. Jason, say hi to the lovely boys and girls out there.
Hello, lovely boys and girls out there.
How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I think I'm like everybody else in this pandemic. Good days and bad, and bad
Yes.
days and good.
Let's talk about your stuff, dude. Let's talk about you're doing Jupiter Jet Volume 2.
Yep,
That's coming. When is that hitting comic shops?
it's gonna hit comic shops October 7th. It is gonna hit bookstores October 20th.
And this isn't like Jupiter Jet Volume 1 where it was multiple issues. It's just the one shot. Is that correct?
It is a one shot. Yes, we decided to not do the weekly issue. We wanted to do it just like a lot of other all ages novels where it's one shot. But you will notice that the story does have like chapters. So
I did notice.
It has like 5 little chapters in it. So we designed it both ways, but when you read it in one go, you shouldn't feel too much of an abrupt break between chapters. But
So in volume 1, there was a lot of it shared a similar spirit to like the OG like serials and like stuff like, even though Rocketeer is a newer character, it also homages those serials. So like Rocketeer and some of that stuff. I noticed, I don't want to say because I don't know what you've all told people. There's different genre homages in
Yes.
this one. I know
Yes.
I believe you talked about 5 volumes you want to do total.
We want to do 5 volumes total. So yeah, Jupiter Jet and the Forgotten Radio, Volume 2, pushes ahead a year. We're doing
Yeah.
like the Harry Potter thing, where
Love it.
every year you're gonna meet her. So she's now 17.
Yeah.
And we're also homaging. So we started like 1940s ish, kind of rocketeer things. Well, 1950s was about, it was like 2 franchises, sort of 2 tones kind of fighting each other, sort of.
Yeah.
It was science fiction,
Mm.
but also Westerns were coming in
Yeah.
to things. So we kind of homage to both genres, and we're going to keep doing that as we push forward, as she grows forward. So you're going to see Jupiter Jet evolve. She'll always have this tone of like the retro jetpack, because of course it's naturally baked into the character,
Yeah.
but she's going to push forward into genres kind of like the way that does.
Real quick, Danny M says in the chat, he even though he collects singles, he mainly reads one like the collective story arcs. So he's appreciative of you doing that for Jupiter Jet.
Well, fun fact about the comic book industry: it is way easier to promote one thing than 5.
Yeah, that
Which
makes
is
sense.
something, which is something we discovered when we did Volume 1. By the time we got to issue 5, and we'd like email the sites and email the retailers were like, "Why email us yet?
Yeah, why are you talking to us?
Don't
Leave us
Whereas
alone.
this time it's all one. It's one push.
But what I wanted to ask you is, in the upcoming volumes, are you going to incorporate? So you talked about the sci-fi and the western. Are you going to incorporate other genres as you keep progressing, or is it going to be
Yes.
kind of like mainly the? So you are going to incorporate more.
Yeah. It'll like every volume is going to feel distinct and different. I mean, we already have like a very detailed outline of Volume 3.
Cool.
We already have written, like J.K. Rowling, the final scene of Volume 5.
Nice.
So we know exactly where we're going. Volume 4 and 5 are a little bit looser, like the overall plots, but like we know what the final scene is. So like
Nice.
we know where we're going.
Very cool.
But yeah, it's all about like, seeing her grow up, because we want to do like the Harry Potter thing where when you started with Harry Potter, he was 11 and that was sort of the tone of the book. And as it gets a little bit older, it like you grow with her.
I like that. I think that's really cool. I think there's a bigger push now towards, crowdfunding, like you're doing the one-shot OGN, stuff like that. Where do you see, is you're kind of like on the come up with way more people are doing comics now. How do you see the comic industry changing? Obviously, there's been a big upheaval with COVID and people being able to go to shops and all that stuff. Where do you see it going, and how do you see it changing?
I think the comic industry is going to transform wildly in the next 10 years. And I think we're going to see a massive push with graphic novels, one-shot graphic novels, Kickstarter books, and online web comics, specifically like things like webtoons and stuff like that. I think those 3 are going to grow, because when you look at weekly comics, it has just been doing this and this and this and this. And
For,
COVID, I think,
for
has
those
made it
listening,
even,
he's
like,
contracting his hands.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, I apologize.
Yeah.
I apologize. Yes, we are doing this over Zoom, so I'm like, oh, DJ can see me.
Yeah, I got it.
Yes. So it's going, like, it's just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I think COVID has made it even smaller. And I hate to say it, but I think a lot of shops are going to have a hard time surviving this year.
Yeah.
And I totally understand why, man, because, like, people aren't coming to your store.
Yeah.
People aren't going out. I totally get that. And I think the market's reaction to that is going to be, especially the bigger companies, because you can see DC's doing this already. DC's published that line, DC Kids, Black Labels, a lot of like this. Like, there's this idea of, like, we're going to do it in one shot. It can go into bookstores, and our profit margin thing is going to be over 2 years, not the week, because, or not monthly anymore. Because, weekly comic books are all about, did it sell in August? It didn't, then it sucks.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, books are, how did it sell over a year?
Yeah.
Did it make its money back? Okay. And I think webtoons are huge, man, right now. So I think that's going to be another avenue. And then I think you're going to see all the comic book creators, because I think all the comic book companies out there are going to be less willing to take bigger pitches and crazier ideas.
Yeah.
And I hope all of those creators go immediately to Kickstarter, because, I mean, there are some big names out there, and we've seen it more. John McCree of Hitman just did a comic book. Ron Mars has been kickstarting books. Carl Kessel has been kickstarting books. They're all, like, legendary names in the comic book industry, but they've been turning to Kickstarter, and that tells me they're going to Kickstarter because other publishers said no to them. Yeah. And they're like, screw it. I have the fan base. I'm going to connect directly to them. That's kind of the reason why we did it. And I think it's the reason why you did it too. Because you were just like, why am I going to go to a publisher when I know I have a fan base? I know people would want to read my story. So here it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where, obviously as a supporter of the medium, I don't want to see it go away, but you can't help it with everything. I think it's an opportunity of change, an opportunity of growth, and change and growth can be very challenging. And it's also harder for institutions to maneuver because they are by their nature bigger and more bloated. I was
going to say, like, I think a perfect way to think about it is, think about it from television, right? We still have NBC, CBS, and ABC. They're still around, but nobody out there would argue that they're the big dogs anymore. Yeah. Everybody would argue that it's like streaming, like Netflix and stuff like that, but they still exist.
Yeah.
They put out less content, but they still exist. I think that's where it's going to go. I think we're going to disappear. I think Marvel and DC are going to lose a lot of their top dogness.
Yeah.
Now, but they'll still keep it because they have Superman, they have Batman, and they have the Avengers.
Yeah. Yeah, they have those bigger titles, but I would like to see, for a long time, like albums, if you buy the vinyl, they come with a code for the digital copy. And I know a lot of comics have been doing the issue to issue floppy comics come with the digital copy, but it's like, if I buy a graphic novel of the thing, I should get a digital copy of all those issues. It's common sense. And I could see those, especially if because you're releasing this as a single OGN. I know Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips just released Pulp as a one shot, and I believe
which was great.
Which was
so good.
They are so consistent in their content. Yep. I am bummed that their ongoing criminal series kind of stopped at issue 12, but obviously we'll still get more stuff from them. And I believe they just announced they're going to be doing a series, but it's not going to be month to month. It's going to be graphic novels.
Reckless. It's good. They're going to do like 3 volumes of Reckless.
Yeah, and so I could see that, and hopefully, because I love my local comic shop and stuff like that. They'll become a place where you can get those people buy online digitally or whatever, but you can go and get those hard copies to display on your shelf.
I will say this. I don't think weekly comics will go completely away.
Yeah.
I just think there will be less weekly comics, and I think it will turn to more graphic novels. And I would say I've heard this argument a lot where people like, when weekly comics go away, there go comic book stores. And I call bullcrap on that argument because independent bookstores aren't gone.
Yes.
They're still around.
Yeah.
It's like if your business is good and you have the customer base, they will follow you.
Yeah.
We are in an economy of people, not corporations.
Absolutely. And I think, with a lot of shops too, there's collector culture and stuff like that. So you can start and how those interconnect and intermesh. I mean,
It also makes the art more consistent.
Exactly. Especially if you're talking about the one shots and stuff like that. I am thankful I don't have to figure that out. The overhead and all that.
Yeah, me too.
Running this business is hard enough.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where all that goes and how things change. So, Jason, as we're wrapping up here, once again, for the cheap seats, where can the people find Jupiter Jet and everything else you're working on?
Jupiter Jet and the Forgotten Radio. It's 120 pages.
Hell yeah.
You can find it in your comic book shops on October 7th. Your bookstore is October 20th. But the important thing about that, like all comic books, and as DJ knows, books and comics live and die. So do comic book stores on pre-orders. So if you are interested by anything I've said here, go to your comic book shop and pre-order it now, because what that does is if your comic book store owner doesn't know about Jupiter Jet and the Forgotten Radio, they might be like, maybe I'll order 2 copies, because if one person wanted it, 2 people may want it. It's also available on Amazon and all Walmart, the various places you can pre-order now. But pre-orders really matter and really help the book out. So,
it's a big part for comic stores and stuff like that. So, and a lot of them have like, you can do it through email. You can email them. You can call them, and you can also.
It's basically. Yeah. You can email them. You can tell them whatever. But basically, it's Jupiter Jet is like, we designed it as like the Pixar of comics. It's for everybody can read it. It doesn't talk down to adults, but your kids can read it too. It's perfectly safe. And if adventure science fiction sounds perfect for you, then I would check it out. It's like Kim Possible meets Men in Black is how we describe it.
I love it. I love both of those properties. And where can people find you online?
You can find me online. I'm on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube at Jawin. That's Jawin. It's the first 2 letters of all 3 of my names, Jason William Inman. And we have a weekly podcast called Geek History Lesson, which I co-host with Ashley Victoria Robinson, who I co-write Jupiter Jet with.
Oh, yeah.
And DJ has been a guest of that. Sam Basher has been a guest of that. Sam Humphreys, who you recently had on, was a guest of that. So if you want to learn about comic book and pop culture characters in a little bit less than an hour, that's the podcast for you.
Didn't you just have Tom King, Doc Shanner, and Mitch Garrett's on too?
We had the entire Strange Adventures team all at once.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right. So
it was a very interesting conversation.
I bet. So if you all are interested in any of that, please go check it out. Please pre-order Jupiter Jet Volume 2. Please go follow Jason everywhere that matters. You can follow me at DJ Talks Trash. You can follow this podcast at Only Stupid Answers. Yank out the vowels from stupid. If you're watching this live, it is on patreon.com/Only Stupid Answers. And I really appreciate your support. We're trying to do more content over here with more cool guests. If you guys want to see anybody on, be sure to tweet me and let me know, so I can see who we can get on, see what kind of conversations we have. And we always pull our questions from our Discord that is part of our Patreon as well. Please like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.